The purpose of TSTA meeting number 3 was to discuss the high crash locations in the WAMPO region and to identify countermeasures, including systemic countermeasures that could be effective in mitigating crashes in the WAMPO region. The agenda for the meeting included the following: welcome and introductions, review of TSTA meeting number 2, discussion of high crash locations, field review of high crash locations, countermeasure discussion, grant applications, and next steps. So why is transportation safety so important? This slide shows pictures of people and places in Wichita. With transportation safety, it is easy to look at crash numbers to identify challenges, but it is important to remember that these are people with families and friends, who play an important role in someone's life. At TSTA meeting number 2, participants prioritized the 42 solutions to determine the highest priorities to carry forward in the CSAP. A 1 indicated a low priority, and a 5 a high priority. Those highlighted in blue were identified as the highest priorities. The aggregated results are presented on the next several slides. A discussion point from the last TSTA meeting was the causes of crashes. Looking at the contributing circumstances for the project and following the previous TSTA guidance on our emphasis areas being intersections, followed by vulnerable road users and speed-related crashes, we broke out the crashes into intersection and non-intersection crashes. Intersection and non-intersection have the same top 8 contributing circumstances. The other big takeaway was that roughly 30% of the crashes are due to some form of inattention, which is the main crash cause for the crashes. High crash locations were determined from the same dataset, but specifically focusing on fatal and injury crashes only, using a density-based machine learning tool to cluster crashes together. Once again, sticking to the top 3 identified emphasis areas as chosen by the TSTA committee, the intersections were broken out by signalized and unsignalized intersection rankings, as well as speed-related clusters and vulnerable road users. These maps are provided for the entire WAMPO region. The top signalized intersection was shown to be Broadway and Kellogg Drive. Speed-related intersection was US 54 and Washington, the ramps, or Rock and 37th, excluding highway intersections. Vulnerable road user-related highest crash was Broadway and Murdoch. A field review of Central and Broadway, ranked number 35, was completed via a walking tour with stops at the following intersections: Main Street and 3rd Street, Market Street and 3rd Street, Market Street and Central Avenue, and Broadway Avenue and Pine Street. At these intersections, countermeasures were identified to mitigate the crashes and contributing factors. The following deficiencies were identified: faded striping in general, but particularly noted for crosswalks and stop bars, lack of signal head conspicuity, confusing one-way configurations, lack of dedicated turn lanes and protected left turn signal phases, sight distance obstructions including parking near intersections, utility poles, trees, off-tracking of vehicles including freight. Wide crossings without median refuges for pedestrians, even though high pedestrian generators at the intersection. Far side transit stops without turnouts present. The following countermeasures were also identified: improved striping that lasts longer, backplate retro-reflective borders, protected bike lanes and bike lane right turn separation at back of bay rather than conflicting at intersection, leaving pedestrian intervals, medians and pedestrian refuges, dedicated turn lanes and protected left turn phasing, look at lead lag protected lefts at locations that can't be widened due to right-of-way constraints, curb extensions and bulb outs, education of drivers and pedestrians on proper operations of traffic control devices, speed reduction devices, such as speed tables, raised intersections, chicanes, etc., better lighting, advanced warning applications, for example, signs, access controls at minor roads, yellow and all red cycles short without the protected left turn phasing, and better design for all users. After the field review, the countermeasures were discussed in more detail, and the priority countermeasures that would be most effective in the region were identified. Leading pedestrian intervals, high visibility crosswalks, backplates with retroreflective borders, dedicated left turn lanes on high volume roadways, turning traffic yield to pedestrian signage at intersections with high pedestrian traffic, access control through medians, advanced warning signs where contextually logical, improved pavement markings for vehicle travel lanes, curb extensions and bulb outs, complete streets discussion designing for all users, for example, freight, transit, pedestrian vehicles, and bicyclists. Another major countermeasure that emerged from the discussion was the need for education surrounding vulnerable road users, both education for drivers and for the users. The See Me AZ website was shared with the group as an example of a cohesive marketing campaign being conducted with the Phoenix MPO. This type of program could be considered for the WAMPO region. The Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application is open and responses are due by July 10, 2023. The WAMPO region is well positioned for an implementation grant as a result of the CSAP. However, without a specific project identified and detailed analysis having been conducted to inform the application, an implementation grant would likely not be competitive at this time. Therefore, it was proposed that the WAMPO region apply for a planning and demonstration grant. This grant can be used to supplement a comprehensive safety action plan, including additional stakeholder and public engagement and collaboration, topical subplans. This grant could also be used for demonstration activities such as quick build strategies that inform permanent projects in the future, pilot programs for behavioral and operational activities, or evaluation of new technologies not yet adapted in the region. There was discussion about what could be included in a WAMPO planning and demonstration grant. Ideas included additional grassroots community engagement, additional studies on high crash locations to determine improvements, piloting a behavioral safety campaign with a major local employer, temporary curb extensions, and temporary speed calming elements. The group will reconvene virtually to decide what items should be included in the grant application, which is a 2-page narrative with letters of support from local stakeholders endorsing the project. The activities to be included in the application will be determined by May 31st, 2023. The application will be completed for submittal on June 30th, 2023. Supporting information such as a draft implementation plan will be provided with the application. Example successful implementation grants were shared. Louisville Metro SS4A application, right-sizing Louisville for safe streets. Columbus, Ohio application, Livingston Avenue, and fact sheets for all 37 implementation grant awards. This is the third and final TSTA meeting for the plan development process. A Traffic Safety Committee and Public Information meeting will be held on June 8, 2023. The goal of this meeting is to solicit additional input from stakeholders and the public to inform the SS4A application and the recommendations included in the CSAP. The draft implementation plan will be prepared by the end of June for inclusion in the SS4A application. The SS4A Planning and Demonstration Grant application will be completed and submitted on June 30th, 2023. The draft CSAP will be provided in July with the final plan provided in August or September.